Thank you, Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and congratulations so far in the manner in which you have successfully steered our deliberations on this important piece of legislation. And thank you for the opportunity given to contribute to the second reading debate on the Special Economic Zone Bill 2024 as head of GNAT, but also as the Member of Parliament for Ogranok-Kia Avuli constituency. Mr. Speaker, at the outset, let me congratulate the Minister of Commerce, Industry, Labour and Immigration and his predecessor, now the Minister of Finance, and others that came earlier. So as the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry, the Special Economic Zone Task Force and stakeholders for their tireless efforts and commitment to prepare and bring this bill to Parliament. The Speaker, as alluded to by the Honourable Minister for Commerce, Industries, Labour and Immigration in his second reading speech, the concept and policy intention to establish special economic zones dates back almost 2 decades ago. And I recall that it was the current Honourable Member for His Choice and former Prime Minister who played an instrumental role in incorporating the idea of special economic zones into various government policies at the time. On this note, I wish to thank him for his foresight and vision. Today we stand one step closer to turning that vision into reality. Let me also extend my sincere appreciation to the Chairman and members of the Bills and Legislation Committee, the BLC, for their comprehensive report on the bill. I would also like to extend my gratitude to all those who have contributed to this debate, both sides of the House. As the member for His Choice rightly pointed out, the second reading debate is primarily concerned with the general merits and principles of the bill. I acknowledge the issues raised by all the speakers, including the Chairman of the Bills and Legislation Committee. These concerns are valid, and I will defer to the Minister responsible for the bill to address them when he winds up our debate on the bill. Mr. Speaker, I do not intend to traverse the policy rationale for the bill, as the Honourable Minister has already outlined it eloquently in his statement delivered on Thursday, 15th May 2025. But suffice to say, the bill has significant economic and developmental potential for our country. But there are some misunderstandings that I think needs to be cleared, and we hope that we can clear some of those during the Committee of the Whole House. Mr. Speaker, for my government, this bill is a significant piece of legislation that aims to promote sustainable economic growth, diversify our economy, and increase employment opportunities for our people through the establishment of special economic zones in selected parts of the country. And I think we've heard about that argument during the last 2 days. Our economy, like many others in the Pacific, faces numerous structural challenges, including limited access to capital, narrow export bases, and vulnerability to external shocks. To address these issues, we must think strategically and act decisively. Special economic zones globally have provided, and we have heard a number of examples given during the debate, provided a platform, a framework to attract both domestic and foreign investment, encourage industrial development, and support infrastructure growth. Mr. Speaker, sir, I read with great interest the report submitted by the BLC, and I too would like to share my observations and express my support for the Special Economic Zone Bill 2024. The report contains a total of 72 recommendations. Upon my review, these recommendations can be broadly grouped into three distinct categories. A, policy considerations and recommendations. B, drafting issues. And C, consultation and/or implementation concerns. Several recommendations fall squarely within the realm of policy and therefore require decisions at the executive level. I will speak more on the matter of policy role of the executive government and the BLC later. Other recommendations are drafting issues relating to the style adopted. These are minor issues that we will try to address at the committee stage. The Speaker, in addition to the above, I must also express concern that certain recommendations in the report are based on assumptions, reflect significant misunderstandings, or display a concerning level of ignorance, unfortunately. In some instances, the recommendations appear to put the cart before the horse. For instance, the BLC places undue emphasis on customary land rights and land acquisition issues, highlighting concerns about the exclusion of customary landowners. Mr. Speaker, in the context of the special economic zones, land is a fundamental requirement for development, as we have heard during the course of this debate. Particularly for international investors, a secure and reliable tenure system is essential. Such a system must be free from disputes, clearly defined in law, and aligned with international best practices. In practical terms, this means that land intended for investment and development must be registered, and the laws governing its use must be clear and enforceable. If customary landowners are genuinely committed to making land available for SEZ development, then the mechanisms already exist under the Lands and Titles Act, as we have heard from the Minister of Lands, Housing and Survey earlier on. These includes the conversion of customary land into registered land through processes such as purchase, compulsory acquisition, or first registration under the Torrens title system. The Speaker, it is troubling that the BLC appears oblivious to the fact that the registration of customary land, whether by purchase, compulsory acquisition, or for first registration, can take a minimum of 4 to 6 years. This time frame can be significantly extended if the matter is subject to litigation, including appeals to higher courts. Certainty in securing land interests within a SEZ forms the foundation for fostering long-term confidence among both developers and investors. There is also the assertion that provincial governments were not consulted in the development of the SEZ bill. The Speaker, a simple search on Google will clearly show that all our provinces were consulted. I can excuse the current provincial governments for their failure to consult their records, since the majority of them were all elected last year. However, the provincial premiers need to know that their predecessors attended the consultations. Whether there was sufficient information or records or notes on their files, that is a matter for each provincial assembly. Mr. Speaker, it seems that there is misunderstanding by the BLC stems from, unfortunately, either limited knowledge of what an SEZ is and what are its benefits or the benefit it brings. Say, a special economic zone is a designated area within a country where business and trade laws are quite different, or are different and often more favorable than in the rest of the country. These zones are created, as we have heard, to attract foreign investment, boost exports, create jobs, and support economic development. But what are the real benefits of a special economic zone? First and foremost, SEZs stimulate economic growth. By offering tax incentives, simplified customs procedures, and improved infrastructure, SEZs attract both local and international businesses. This influx of investment leads to the development of industries, which strengthens the overall economy. Second, SEZs are engines of job creation. Again, we have also heard about that argument, that advantage of SEZs. As new businesses set up operations, they need workers, from engineers and technicians to factory workers and administrative staff. This reduces unemployment and improves living standards for local communities. Thirdly, SEZs encourage technological innovation and skills development. Companies operating in SEZs often bring in advanced technologies and train local employees to use them. This knowledge transfer helps build a skilled workforce and fosters long-term development. Fourth, SEZs promote export growth. By simplifying regulations and reducing costs, SEZs make it easier for businesses to produce goods for international markets. This improves the trade balance and earns valuable foreign exchange for our country. Fifth, SEZs can act as a testing ground for economic reforms. Governments can experiment with new policies within these zones before implementing them nationwide. This controlled approach reduces risk and helps ensure the success of broader reforms. The Speaker, Solomon Islands is a post-conflict nation. As a post-conflict nation, fully recognizes that sustained economic growth and development are fundamental to elevating poverty, improving living standards, and reducing the risk of a return to instability. These objectives are not only central to our national aspirations, but are also aligned with the global development agenda, particularly the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, which succeed the Millennium Development Goals and guide our commitments towards 2030. Special economic zones can play a transformative role in post-conflict recovery. They provide the government with a targeted mechanism to implement structural reforms, attract investment, and develop critical infrastructure within designated areas. This spatially focused approach allows for more efficient deployment of resources and fosters an enabling environment for economic diversification and job creation. Third, it is not a matter of speculation. It is well documented that economic development is a vital ingredient in consolidating peace and preventing the recurrence of conflict. SEZs contribute directly to achieving key SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals, including SDG 1, which is no poverty by generating employment and income opportunities. SDG 8, decent work and economic growth through private sector engagement and sustainable economic activity. SDG 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure via strategic investment in transport, energy and digital infrastructure. And SDG 16, peace, justice, strong institutions by addressing economic drivers of conflict and fostering stability. Mr. Speaker, if we are to meet the targets of the 2030 agenda, and of course we are way off target, initiatives like SEZs must be pursued with seriousness and strategic intent. They are not merely economic tools. They are instruments of peace building, resilience, and long-term national development. Mr. Speaker, it is anticipated that a number Mr. Speaker, it is anticipated that the number of SEZs to be established will be limited during the early stages of implementation. This approach is deliberate and aims to ensure a measured and responsible rollout of the SEZ framework. Mr. Speaker, I now wish to address several issues that arose during the BLC hearings on this bill, particularly those that pertain to the roles and functions of the committee itself. Provincial hearings and suspension of hearings. In February this year, the chairman of the BLC wrote to my office requesting funding for the committee to conduct provincial inquiries into the bill and others. Subsequently, on 11 April 2025, the BLC suspended its hearings into the Special Economic Zone Bill 2024, citing compliance with Order 43.7 of the Standing Orders. Mr. Speaker, these events raise two important matters which may require your guidance and intervention. First, there is a clear need to reiterate and clarify the mandate of the Bills and Legislation Committee as provided for under the standing orders of this Honourable House. Second, it is vital that all members of select committees, including the BLC, fully understand the nature of their roles and on whose behalf they perform those roles. Let me clarify, Mr. Speaker. The BLC is a standing select committee of the National Parliament, established under Order 71 of the Standing Orders. Its primary role is to review all draft legislation or bills before it is introduced into Parliament. In doing so, the committee is expected to examine bills and prepare a written report to Parliament containing its observations and recommendations based on its deliberations. It must be noted, however, that the standing orders do not require that the BLC report be tabled before a bill is debated. While the report is highly informative and useful for members, it is not a procedural precondition to debate. Mr. Speaker, I must now raise a fundamental principle, the doctrine of separation of powers. The BLC, like all committees of Parliament, is a creature of the legislature. As such, it must exercise its functions with due regard to the separation of powers between the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Mr. Speaker, the BLC must not be used as a political platform, whether by the official opposition, independent members, or any other faction, to promote party agendas or pursue political battles. That is what this chamber, the floor of Parliament, is for. Members serving on committees must remember that they are not acting as representatives of their constituencies or party ideologies. They are acting on behalf of this House, and more specifically, on behalf of you, Mr. Speaker, who is the head of the legislature. In this context, Mr. Speaker, committee members are duty-bound to exercise neutrality and impartiality. Their reports are intended to guide members in the debate of legislation, not to undermine, obstruct, or politicize the legislative process. Mr. Speaker, select committees are vital institutions in a healthy democracy. They play a critical oversight role. They are empowered to examine policy, scrutinize legislation, and make recommendations. However, they do not direct policy, nor do they execute it. That is the domain of the executive. By engaging in evidence-based inquiry, committees enhance accountability, ensure transparency, and support better policy making. But to maintain legitimacy, they must operate within the confines of their legislative mandate. The Speaker, I have watched with concern the manner in which some BLC hearings have been conducted. It is troubling to hear statements made during these hearings which suggest that the executive is acting improperly or pursuing the wrong policies. Such conduct undermines the purpose and credibility of select committees. The Speaker, I respectfully submit that he may wish to remind all committee members of their code of conduct and of the neutral, apolitical nature of their duties. Let us not forget, Mr. Speaker, that parliamentary committees are not battlegrounds for political rivalries. They are pillars of our legislative system, designed to strengthen Parliament and ensure that all members, regardless of party affiliation, are better informed. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, back to the Special Economic Zone Bill. This bill is an important piece of legislation with the potential to transform the economic landscape of this country. And as we have heard during the course of the debate, there are a number of legislations that are yet to come, including, of course, the National Building Standards Bill, which is also critical to the implementation of this. Amendments to the Literacy Act, as we have heard, which is also important in terms of the implementation of this legislation, the Mineral Resources Bill, and other legislations that are now before the House, and of course, even the Public Service Bill itself in terms of human capital development, which will also be important for these SEZs. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this bill deserves careful consideration, guided by the facts, the law, and the best interest of our people. I commend the bill to the House and offer my full support and that of my people of Ograno-Kia-Haulei constituency for its passage. And with that, I support the motion and I resume my seat.
Thank you very much, Honourable Prime Minister.